Financial struggles, no matter how tough they seem, are not punishments but divine tools to shape character. God uses these seasons like a blacksmith shapes iron in the fire. Every strike, every flame, strengthens the structure. Think of someone who faces poverty and learns to manage every penny wisely. That person develops a resilience that abundance could never teach. Struggle teaches patience, strength, and faith. Have you ever felt like God was silent in the midst of your battle? But it's in the chaos that He is most active, strengthening your trust in Him. Take Job's story, for example. He lost everything, yet his unwavering faith led to an even greater restoration. Similarly, those facing financial difficulties today may be preparing to manage something much greater tomorrow. Suffering is not the end but a means to a greater purpose. The hardest lesson to accept is that struggle is part of growth. When an athlete trains, they don't complain about the effort because they know every drop of sweat builds endurance. The same is true for faith. Poverty can be training for something extraordinary. The desert may seem endless, but it's in the desert that you learn to depend on God's provision. And when that provision comes, you'll never forget where your true strength came from. Faith over material wealth. True wealth isn't found in a bank account but in trust in God. When the Israelites wandered the desert, God didn't give them full storehouses but sent manna day by day. This wasn't neglect, it was faith training. They needed to learn that provision doesn't come from human effort but from total dependence on the Lord. Similarly, financial struggles can remind us that it's God, not money, who sustains all things. People often place their security in what they own, but what if it were all taken away? True faith isn't based on what's visible but on the certainty that God will provide. He's done it before and continues to do so, even when the numbers don't add up. Look at the testimonies of those who trusted and saw miracles. Bills paid unexpectedly, closed doors suddenly opening. Those who walk by faith discover that poverty can be a school but never a final destination. Those enduring financial trials are being taught to live without material crutches. This doesn't mean accepting misery but understanding that God wants to be the source before He releases abundance. When He sees that your dependence is on Him and not on money, the provision will come. Because, in the end, the greatest wealth isn't a full bank account but unshakable faith that opens doors no one can shut. Money doesn't change anyone. It only reveals who they truly are. When financial difficulties arise, character is tested like gold in the fire. Does the person remain honest when times are tough? Or do they give in to the temptation of shortcuts? The Bible is clear. No one can serve two masters. Financial trials separate those who trust in God from those who make money a disguised idol. Many have seen stories of people who gained wealth only to lose it because they built their lives on the wrong principles. But there are also those who, even in poverty, maintained their integrity and, in due time, were honored. Joseph was sold into slavery, wronged, and imprisoned, but he never compromised his faithfulness. In the end, God made him a ruler because he proved his faith wasn't dependent on circumstances. So, when finances are tight, the question is, who will you choose to serve? The pressure may be intense, but integrity isn't for sale. God allows these seasons not to destroy but to purify. Those who endure and remain steadfast are being prepared for something greater. And when abundance comes, it won't be a snare but a tool to fulfill a much greater purpose. The invisible battle. Not every financial struggle is just the result of mistakes or chance. Often, there's an invisible battle at play. The Bible makes it clear, our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the spiritual forces of evil. Ephesians 6 verse 12. The enemy knows that financially stable people can impact lives, help the needy, and expand God's kingdom. So, he tries to hinder this progress with crises, debt, and fear of scarcity. How often does someone try to start a business, invest, or escape poverty, only to feel like everything is working against them? It's not just bad luck, it's often a direct attack to discourage and steal their faith. The enemy's strategy is clear. Make the person believe they'll never prosper, that God has abandoned them, and that there's no way out. But the truth is different. If the battle is intense, it means there's something valuable to be gained. After all, no one attacks an enemy who poses no threat. The key to winning this war isn't just human effort but spiritual armor. Prayer, fasting, and faithfulness to God are powerful weapons. Those who understand this stop fighting alone and start positioning themselves spiritually. Because when God is in charge, no obstacle is too big, it will be torn down. The question is, are you ready to fight the right way and claim the victory that's already been promised? Preparation for greater things. God doesn't waste suffering. If someone is facing financial difficulties, it may be because they're being prepared for something much greater. Consider David's story. Before becoming king, he spent years on the run, living as a fugitive. Joseph was betrayed and sold into slavery before ruling Egypt. The pattern is clear. God allows seasons of scarcity to teach lessons that will be essential when abundance comes. Many want to prosper, but few are ready to manage prosperity. If someone can't handle little, how will they handle much? Times of struggle teach discipline, management, humility, and dependence on God. How many have received great opportunities only to lose everything due to lack of preparation? God doesn't just want to give blessings. He wants the person to have the structure to sustain them. So instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" the better question is, "What does God want me to learn now?" Maybe it's learning to value what you have, manage resources better, or even develop a generous heart in the midst of difficulty. Because when the preparation is complete, God opens doors no one can shut, and those who've gone through the process will be ready to walk through them. Humility before abundance. Sometimes God withholds prosperity because he knows the human heart can become arrogant. Proverbs 16 verse 18 is clear. Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. How many have received wealth only to become prideful, forgetting where they came from? Money can be a great servant but a terrible master. Out of love, God often holds back abundance until the person is spiritually ready to manage it without losing humility. Financial struggles teach lessons that abundance rarely provides. They remind us that every achievement comes from divine grace, not just personal effort. Those who've been through tough times know the value of what they have, understand the weight of every penny, and grasp the importance of sharing with those in need. God wants wealth in the hands of those who will use it for good, not to feed an inflated ego. So, if prosperity hasn't arrived yet, it may be because God is refining your heart before releasing the blessing. He doesn't just want to enrich you financially, but spiritually. And the truth is, those who learn humility in scarcity will be prepared to remain humble in abundance. Because when God gives, he wants you to be a channel of blessings, not a prisoner of pride. A greater purpose. Sometimes, a lack of money doesn't mean something's wrong. It may mean God is guiding you to the right path. Colossians 3 verse 2 teaches us to focus on things above, not just earthly matters. How many spend their lives chasing wealth, only to realize too late they were running in the wrong direction? God may allow financial struggles to make you pause, reflect, and align your purpose with something far greater than accumulating possessions. Many people only seek God in crisis, and when things are going well, they leave him behind. If financial struggles lead you to your knees, seek answers, and reconsider your choices, then they're serving an important purpose. Perhaps the real issue isn't a lack of money but an attachment to a path God didn't plan. When something isn't prospering, it may be a sign that it's time to change course. Have you ever thought that the crisis might be pushing you toward a greater purpose? Many great entrepreneurs, leaders, and visionaries only found their true calling after a moment of bankruptcy or failure. God doesn't just want you to succeed. He wants you to succeed in what truly matters. And sometimes, to see that, he needs to close some doors before opening the right ones. Compassion through struggle. Those who've never faced financial hardship may struggle to understand the weight of living in that reality. It's easy to judge when you've never felt the desperation of not knowing how to pay bills or put food on the table. But God allows certain trials to shape more compassionate hearts. 2 Corinthians 1 verse 4 says we are comforted so that we can comfort others. In other words, what you're facing today may be exactly what will equip you to help someone tomorrow. People who've overcome financial crises rarely look at the needy with indifference. They understand the importance of a word of encouragement, a small act of generosity. Those who've experienced lack know the value of a donated meal, a forgiven debt, or an opportunity given. Suffering teaches what no book could, to look at others with more human eyes and hands more willing to help. If you're facing difficulties today, know that this may be building something much greater in you. It's not just about surviving this season, but emerging transformed. God doesn't just want to bless you financially. He wants to make you a blessing to others. And often, the only way to develop that genuine compassion is to experience what you'll one day help others overcome. Breaking generational cycles, many financial struggles didn't start with the person facing them today. They're cycles that repeat generation after generation. Debt, lack of opportunities, poor spending habits. But Galatians 3 verse 13 teaches that Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law. This means no one is doomed to repeat their ancestors' history. God allows trials so that someone in the family can have the courage to break the pattern and build a new legacy. How often do we hear stories of entire families who've always lived in poverty until someone decided to change? That person often faced the greatest struggles, endured the most resistance, and had to learn the hard way what no one taught them. But it was through that fight that they paved the way for those who came after. Perhaps that's your mission, to learn about finances, break destructive habits, and teach your children to manage well what God gives them. It's not easy to be the first to change, but someone has to do it. And God equips those He calls. If you feel born for something greater, if you refuse to repeat your family's past mistakes, then this trial may be a sign that it's your time to fight for that change. Because when one person rises with faith and wisdom, they don't just transform their own life, they change the story for everyone who comes after them. God's timing, one of life's hardest lessons, is waiting. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11 reminds us that God makes everything beautiful in its time. But when you're facing financial struggles, that wait can feel endless. The problem is, in the rush to escape the pressure, many try to speed up the process and end up making poor decisions. But God isn't delayed. He acts with precision. If the blessing hasn't arrived yet, it's because something still needs to align. Think of someone who receives a large sum of money without being prepared. In a few years, they could lose it all because they didn't develop discipline and wisdom beforehand. That's why God works behind the scenes, shaping character, strengthening faith, and teaching principles before releasing what He's already set aside. He doesn't just want to give, He wants to ensure you're ready to sustain the blessing. So, if the wait feels long today, remember, God hasn't forgotten you. What He's promised, He will fulfill, but in the right time. And when that time comes, you'll understand that every day of struggle was part of building the person you needed to become. Because to live what God has for you, it's not enough to just receive, you need to be ready to manage and multiply. If you're in this season, understand this. God doesn't want you to depend on money but on Him. Faith doesn't mean ignoring reality but seeing beyond it. It means acting with wisdom but without fear. God honors those who trust Him, and those who learn to walk by faith become living testimonies of His care. Because when your trust is in God, provision never runs out, it just arrives in the right way and at the right time. Now that you understand the purpose behind financial trials, the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you keep complaining about your situation, or will you use it as a springboard to grow? God isn't punishing you. He's preparing you. The question is, are you willing to learn from this process and become the person He wants you to be? Reflect, what financial habits do you need to change? How can your faith grow stronger in this season? What is God already trying to teach you that you haven't yet realized? Remember, those who overcome these battles emerge stronger, wiser, and more prepared to manage much greater blessings. This tough season isn't the end. It's just the beginning of your transformation. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep learning about how God works in the lives of those He chooses. Don't miss the opportunity to grow spiritually and financially. You're closer to your breakthrough than you think.